Order, senators.
I appreciate the wisdom of my colleague, Senator Kajwang, and I love the fact that he's a stickler to the procedures, and that's all we're talking about here. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and request Senator Sifuna to second.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion by the Minority Whip, Senator Ledama Olekina. And allow me to begin with the words that you used in your communication this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, that in fact, this is a fundamental process in good governance and upholding of democracy. And I remember you calling us to order, Mr. Speaker, and that we treat this particular process with the highest level of responsibility. I do not take my duties as a senator of Nairobi lightly, and especially not when it comes to the process of impeachment of a governor. Mr. Speaker, I consider myself more a debating machine than a voting machine. I don't want to allude anything on any other senator, but for me, the reason I'm in this house is first to debate before questions are put to the vote. And that those people or the colleagues who insist, Mr. Speaker, on straight up going to the vote are doing themselves a disservice, because there's a song that I like by one Emily Sunday. She says, if you can never sing your song, how are we supposed to learn it? I would want to hear my colleagues debating and convincing me why of the two options that are available to the House, Mr. Speaker, the plenary is the best. For me, I'm here to do one thing and one thing only. First of all, I want to thank this SBC, because this debate in the morning, we were asking ourselves whether we should recommend or whether we should make available both choices for the House. And in fact, in the wisdom of the chair, you rule that this is a choice for this House, that both of those choices must be put before the members, let the debate ensue, and people convince each other as to why one is better than the other. Mr. Speaker, I also have the benefit of having been a member in the last impeachment process of Governor Kawira. That committee was very ably led by my colleague from Kakamega, Senator Khalwale. Mr. Speaker, I have come to be convinced that in fact the committee way is the best way when it comes to impeachment of governor, and I'll give the reasons as to my position. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, this is a serious matter, not just for the governor herself, but also for the people of Meru. As a firm believer in devolution myself, I want counties to work. We fight every day here to get extra resources for these counties, for them to be able to work. Nobody is happy when we have dysfunctional county governments. But, Mr. Speaker, also the threshold for removal of a governor has been set in the law. It is the responsibility of this House, Mr. Speaker, to find out whether on the facts and the evidence that threshold has been made. And in my submission, Mr. Speaker, it is close to impossible in an interrogation such as the one that happens in plenary to establish the facts and the law of the allegations and whether that threshold has been met. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I believe that that responsibility of oversight of counties, and especially of impeachment of governors, is placed on the entire House, all the 67 of us. I do not see why, for instance, anyone would want to strip themselves of a role in this process by refusing the committee way. Because, Mr. Speaker, one unique thing about the committee way is the only opportunity that our nominated colleagues get an opportunity to have a say in a matter as important as the impeachment of a governor. If you do not go the committee way, Mr. Speaker, as you know, when it comes to voting...
Order, Senator Gloria. Proceed, Senator Sifuna.
When it comes to voting, Mr. Speaker, only the heads of delegations at the plenary will get to vote. This is a matter that it should be common knowledge to anybody sitting in this House, unless you don't know where you are. Mr. Speaker, the point that I was making is this. If we want to interrogate the evidence, to sift the noise, because there's been a lot of noise in social media and on the mainstream media about what is happening in Meru, I would beg this House not to join the cacophony of noise just for the sake of joining. That we do a proper analysis of the evidence, we do a proper analysis of the facts, and reach a determination that will be in the best interest of the people of Meru. I have never experienced a plenary, but those of us, our colleagues who have been there, have advised that some of the privileges, like for instance, when we were sitting in the last committee, and Mr. Speaker, I honestly would wish that you bring Senator Cherargei to order, because he is in the habit of shouting at people when they are talking here. If he has a point of order, let him raise it in the manner
Senator Cherargei, I'm giving you the final warning for the day. If you have anything, you speak through the chair. Don't engage your colleagues directly. Senator Kathuri, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the move and the second of this motion has severally mentioned Meru County, that they know what is best for Meru County. If there is anyone who knows what is best for Meru County, is none other than Kadhuri Murungi. I wish they had consulted me because they are advocating Meru issues in a very different manner. So when you are either moving or seconding, give your reasons without mentioning the great Meru County, tafadhali. I beg.
Senator Kathuri, that point of order is overruled. The role of the Senate is to offer oversight to all counties, including Meru. The motion that they're moving is the subject matter of this motion is Meru. You cannot make any contribution without mentioning Meru. So, Senator Sifuna, kindly proceed to...
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection. And by the time the matter is brought to us, it is an indication of a failure of leadership in the county of Meru. So we are here to deal with your problems you should have sorted out at home. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying that is the work of the Senate. It's a constitutional mandate of the Senate.
Senator Sifuna, I will not allow you to start throwing jabs. Proceed to conclude.
I conclude, Mr. Speaker, although the jab has already landed, I can see it's working, to withdraw the jab. Mr. Speaker, I want to beg this House that in fact, let us go the route of a committee that will enable us to be able to interrogate the facts, to interview witnesses. Senator Khalwale will bear me witness that the last time we were in this committee, similar committee, Mr. Speaker, the witnesses would take oath there, and you would subject them to cross-examination. And the people who have experience with the plenary, Senator Ledama, unless he was misleading me, has told me of a different story when it comes to plenary. You will not be able to do the sort of cross-examination that you would get opportunity to do in committee. And Mr. Speaker, if indeed we are going to follow your words of exercising the highest level of responsibility in this particular matter, knowing what is at stake. And by the way, we never pretend to know what is best for the people of Meru. We said we must undertake our function, our constitutional function, in a manner that is in the best interest of the people of Meru. That is not to pretend that we know better or more than those who come from there. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to second this motion and hope that our colleagues will adopt the same and proceed in that particular fashion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, kindly take your seats. Senator Omtata, unaleta matata. Tafadhali ka. Senator Karen. Senator Shakila, kindly take your seat. So, honorable senators, I will now proceed to propose the question. Whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Senator Karen, order. Senator Cherengei. If I'm to throw out Senator Cherengei, you may have to follow behind. So, honorable senators, allow me to propose the question. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on Wednesday, 25th October 2023, the Meru County Assembly approved a motion to remove from office by impeachment Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. And further, whereas by a letter reference M/Cares Volume 4/43, dated 26th October 2023, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 27th of October 2023, the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Government Act and Standing Order 81B of the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 33(3)B of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81B, the Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising the following senators: Senator Dr. Boni Khalwale, Senator Jackson Mandago, Senator Karungo Thangwa, Senator Esther Okenyuri, Senator Ali Roba, Senator Peris Tobiko, Senator Enoch Wambua, Senator Abdul Haji, Senator Okoit Omtata, Senator Crystal Asige, and Senator Shakila Abdallah to investigate the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County, and pursuant to Standing Order 82 to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Governor to have been substantiated. Now, Honorable Senators, we will proceed to call any interested senator to make their contribution on this motion. What is the point of order, Majority Leader?
Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 111.1 on limitation of debate. This is a simple procedure which we need to agree whether to proceed by way of committee or by way of plenary. Mr. Speaker, I propose that within 3 minutes you will have convinced the House to either agree or disagree with you. Therefore, if that finds favor with my colleagues, we can limit that so that as many colleagues as possible can speak on this matter. Mr. Speaker, I invite Senator Karen Nyamu to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second.
Now, Honorable Senators, we need not really debate the motion. We can strike a consensus that we each speak for 3 minutes. If that is the consensus, can we therefore proceed in that manner? Yes. 3 minutes it is. Senator Murango James Kamau.
Asante sana mstahiki Spika kwa kunipa hii nafasi. Ya kwanza nimesimama hapa kimasomaso mchana peupe kupinga mswanda ulioletwa na kiranja walio wachache katika bunge hili. Kwanza mstahiki Spika, nadhani sisi sio kama jongoo, kwa hivyo tuna vichwa vyetu tunafaa kufikiria. Niseme ya kwamba kawaida ambayo imekuwa sasa nikawaandika katika bunge hili la Seneti ni kwamba wakati mswanda umeletwa sana sana ambao unafaa kuungwa mkono na pande zote mbili, anayeleta ule mswanda anakuwa kiongozi wa wengi, na sana sana naona akiita kiongozi walio wachache kuunga mkono ule mswanda. Mstahiki Spika, mswanda wa leo umeletwa na kiranja walio wachache na kuungwa mkono na aliyetoka upande wa wachache. Hiyo ni kusema kuna azimio fiche katika tendo hili. Kwa hivyo mstahiki Spika, mimi nimesimama hapa niseme ya kwamba sisi wengi ambao ni vijana katika bunge hili la Seneti pia tunafaa kupewa nafasi ya kusikiza, kunusa, kuonja na kusoma katika mswanda ambao unaletwa katika bunge hili. Mstahiki Spika, Mstahiki Spika, niseme ya kwamba ukiangalia katika orodha ya wale watu wamewekwa pale, katika upande walio wengi ni wale watu ambao walikuweko wakati ule ambao gavana wa Meru aliletwa katika jumba hili la Seneti. Na kwa hivyo tunataka kusema ya kwamba hiyo inanyima nafasi maseneta wengi vijana kutoka pande hii walio wengi, na kwa hivyo ningeunga mkono kwamba tuletewe mswanda kwa walio wengi. Mstahiki Spika, sitaki kukumbaliana kwa kusema ya kwamba wakati gavana atakuja katika bunge hili hataweza kusikizwa kwa njia inayofaa. Ukienda katika bunge la Wandi la Gatuzi la Meru, wote wakilishi wadi 29 walisikiza na wakapitisha, 59 walisikiza na wakapitisha. Hiyo ni kusema sisi hatujafika hata hiyo, hatujafika 69, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo mimi ningeomba ya kwamba upande walio wengi, tusifuate mkondo kama samaki aliyekufa, tuweze kufikiria, tuletewe mswada katika bunge la seneti, sisi wote tuweze kusikiza, kuchangia na kufanya maamuzi mbele ya kila mtu akiona, Kenya mzima ikitazama. Asante sana mstahiki Speaker. Napinga.
Senator Asotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also raise my voice on this matter. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time this House is debating this particular motion. You remember we had a similar motion on the matter involving the impeachment of the Meru governor. We had a similar motion on the matter involving the deputy governor of Siaya. And this House, nearly 90% of the members supported the idea of the committee. And everyone who stood up gave very good and valid reason why we need to go the committee way. Sitting here and listening to the senator for Kirinyaga, I wonder what has changed, Mr. Speaker. Because we all said, and the answer is there, is the evidence, that we all said that for us to do a neat job, we will need to go the committee way and not the plenary way. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to support the mover, Senator Olekina, that I plead with you members, let us go the committee way so that we can do a clean job, so that we can give the people of Meru the justice they're looking for. And at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we need to continue with this, the image that we have acquired as a Senate, that we are a responsible House that looks at issues critically before making a decision. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to have a situation where we'll come here, convert this House into a lynching house without looking at the issues very critically. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to your communication, Mr. Speaker. The last paragraph, Mr. Speaker, you have clearly stated that the principles and ideals of the Constitution must be adhered to in this impeachment process. Mr. Speaker, I fear that when we go the plenary way, we may not adhere to the principles of the Constitution, particularly on the issue of fair administrative action, because the governor would require all the rights that that are provided for in the Constitution, so that she can.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have three quick things to say. But let me be clear from the onset that first, I rise to oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose for three simple reasons. Number one, as a leader in this House, I must learn to keep and honor my word. When I moved the motion in December last year to set up the committee, I was quite clear and still hold the same position this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, that there is no method that is better than the other. Anybody trying to peddle that kind of argument, in my opinion, Mr. Speaker, is misleading the House. I say that as a ranking member. I have participated in both plenary and committee impeachment hearings. And I can tell you without a doubt, Mr. Speaker, that both processes are fair, they are sound, they have a good legal basis, and they deliver the best result for the specific county that is before the House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, when I moved that afternoon, I promised the House that at the next time we get such an opportunity, it will be my proposal that we go the plenary way. And therefore, this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, I want to propose that the House goes the plenary way so that we listen, all of us, sit here calmly and understand what is the issue with Meru. Second thing, Mr. Speaker, is that we need a cleanup of our laws. Perhaps members are wondering, how is it that we found ourselves in this situation? We found ourselves in this situation where this motion is being moved because, unfortunately, under our own standing orders, standing order number 80 and section 33 of the County Governments Act, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, there is no procedure of directly going to committee. You must first, going to plenary, you must first reject a committee and then you find yourself in the plenary way. It is my proposal and submission before this House, Mr. Speaker, that at the end of this process, we must move a cleanup of our standing orders and that law so that we can provide it in a fair and a cleaner way so that the House makes a decision. Just like, finally, Mr. Speaker, the decision of the committee, unfortunately, if they choose to absolve the governors of the blame, that is the end of that particular process. That is something that we must review, Mr. Speaker, eventually when you are done with this process, so that the House can have a footing and a final say on such matters from start to finish, so that eventually all the 47 delegations of this House gather and make a decision. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with our colleagues, even if you're pursuing a particular interest, don't be unfair on the House. Don't cast aspersions to the House and believe that for whatever reason, members will suddenly not reason that the only way you can concentrate is if you're reduced from being 67 to only 11 of you. I don't think that is fair to the House. The same way I will sit at a...
Senator Haji mwenye faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa ya kuchangia mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kubanduliwa mamlakani kwa gavana kwa kupitia njia ya impeachment ni jambo muhimu sana na jambo ambalo linatoa matatizo makubwa kwa yule ambaye anabanduliwa, kwa sababu ukibanduliwa mamlakani ina maana kwamba huwezi kukaa katika ofisi ya umma kwa kazi yoyote ile ambayo utakuwa una nia ya kuifanya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima tumpe yule mhusika nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kujitetea kutokana na mashtaka ambayo yanamkabili. Mheshimiwa Spika, njia ya kamati ni njia mwafaka kabisa ambayo inampa mhusika nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kujitetea na kusikiza yale mashtaka ambayo yataletwa mbele yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa Seneti nzima, yani kupitia kwa hadhara, yani plenary, ina nafasi sawa na kamati, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tumeona katika historia ya impeachment ya Mheshimiwa Sonko, Mheshimiwa Waititu, hawakupata fursa nzuri ya kujieleza kwa sababu kazi yenyewe ni nyingi na inatakana ifanyike kwa muda wa siku 2. Mheshimiwa Spika, wiki iliyokwisha hapa tulikuja mawaziri wawili walirudi bila kupatikana kwa kuwa tulikuwa hatuna quorum katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukikaa hapa siku ambayo itakayotakana kukaa, na tunajua mara nyingi asubuhi wa maseneta huchelewa kufika katika bunge hili. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa ni aibu kwamba nafasi ya kusikiza kesi inaendelea, wale ambao wataamua kesi hawako mahakamani, lakini kesi inaendelea kusikizwa bila ya wale watakaoamua kuwako mahakama hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naona njia mwafaka ni kuwa na kamati, na kamati ile ni maseneta wote, wale ambao watachaguliwa ni maseneta kama maseneta wengine. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii kadhia ya kuweza kubandikia kamati masuala ambayo hayakuweza, kwa mfano tuhuma za kupokea hongo ama tuhuma za kufanya kazi bila ya kuwa sawasawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, haifai. Kwa sababu seneta yote ambaye anahudumu katika kamati ni seneta kama seneta mwingine, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kamati zote zinapokaa ni kamati za bunge la Senate. Kwa hivyo kadhia zote ambazo ni za kuhakikisha kwamba kuna haki na usawa zinafanyika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kusema kwamba nafasi ya kamati itakuwa ni ndio njia bora kabisa ya kuweza kusikiza madai ambayo yamependekezwa na bunge la kaunti ya Meru, na hiyo itawapa fursa watu wote, wabunge wa bunge la kaunti ya Meru na Governor Kawira Mwangaza watapewa nafasi sawa ya kuweza kusikiza kesi ile na kutoa uamuzi ambao utasaidia kuleta haki na usawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kuwa kama bunge hapa.
Senator Mundigi.
Bwana Spika, mimi nakataa kuundwa kwa maseneta 11 ya kusunguza mambo ya Senator Kawira, mambo ya Meru, kwa governor wa Meru, kwa sababu mnakumbuka wakati ule mwingine tulikuwa hapa na tukachagua Senator 11 na wakati walikuwa naangalia hiyo tukawa tumemrudisha na pia tukampatia onyo kali sana. Vile nataka kusema wale MCA 59
Senator Mundigi. Hoja nidhamu yako ni gani Senator Faki?
Senator wa Embu amesema zungusa. Sasa sijui ni kuzungumza ama ni kuzungusha.
That point of order is overruled. Just proceed, Senator Mundigi.
Senator wa Mombasa, masikio yako haisikii vizuri. Mimi umekula miraa na dawa ya kulevya. Sasa nyamaza. Tuweze kusungumuza kusaidia watu wa Meru. MCA 59 walikumbaliana mambo ya kutimua governor kwa sababu ya kusindwa na kazi yake. Either governor ni mama ama ni mwanaume, mpaka tuangalie vile.
Senator Mundigi, kadri unavochangia katika hoja hii, tafadhali na kusihi utie manani ile tahadhari ambayo nimepeana kabla hatujaanza mdahalo huu. Hatuzungumzi ukweli, uzito, usawa ama uchache wa ile kesi. Tunazungumzia mjadala ambao uko mbele yetu kwa sasa ni aidha kama Senate tuchague kamati ndio ifanye uchunguzi ama Senate mzima ifanye uchunguzi. Kwa hivyo tafadhali usiende nje ya mada hiyo.
Naomba msamaha, ni uchungu ambaye nilio nayo kwa watu wa Meru, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, unakumbuka Embu tumeteseka kwa kipindi ya miaka 10. Na kama watu wa Meru wanasikia vile tulikuwa sikia, wanaona kwa sababu alikuwa jirani, mimi naunga mkono tuwe maseneta 67, tuangalie vile itawezekana. Kwa sababu tunajua wakati county 47 ni mambo ya kuangalia vile kuko. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono na kataa mambo ya hawa, tuweze kuwa sisi wote tuangalie itakuanji. Kwa sababu kama watu wanataka kulipisha, sioni ni vizuri, kwa sababu wakati mambo mengine yafanyika hapa ni kwa sababu tulirudisha deputy ambaye ni wa Kisumu. Sasa leo hatuwezi kumbali yote mnasema mpaka tuende Senator 67.
What is the point of order, Senator Kenya?
Bwana Spika, nilimsikiza Mheshimiwa Mundigi akisema kuzingizia kwamba senator kutoka Mombasa anaweza kuwa anatumia madawa ya kulevya. Hakumsikiza Bwana Spika. Ningependa ya kwamba alisema namna hiyo Bwana Spika. Alisema
Senator Mundigi, just sit down.
Bwana Spika, nuku zetu Bwana Spika.
Order senators.
Alisema Bwana Spika, nuku zetu ningependa ziondolewe kwa sababu Senator Faki ni senator wa nyumba hii, na kusema ya kwamba anaweza kutumia madawa ya kulevya si vizuri Bwana Spika.
Senator Mundigi, ikiwa ni kweli ulizungumza matamshi hayo kwamba senator wa Mombasa, Senator Faki anatumia madawa ya kulevya, itabidi usimame utoe katika nakala maneno hayo na tena uombe msamaha ndo uendelee kumaliza.
Naomba msamaha kwa rafiki wangu Senator wa Mombasa. Labda Senator akusikie vizuri, sikusema mambo kama hayo, kwa hivyo kama nimeongea nimeomba msamaha.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this proposal actually by the minority whip. And I only have two things to say today, Mr. Speaker. The first thing is that, Mr. Speaker, anytime this kind of business come to this house, it is an opportunity for us as a house to rise above the politics of the day and give this house the status that it deserves. In better way between the two ways. But I think that there was wisdom as to why they were actually put that you can either consider two options. And for me, it is circumstantial. It's circumstantial to the extent that, Mr. Speaker, the first thing that we must consider is the sanctity of this house. And why I'm saying sanctity is that we don't want to take a process that can leave us to litigation in whichever way possible. And, Mr. Speaker, we have had a house that we have these. Mr. Speaker, you must control Cherargei. He keeps on making a lot of noise.
Senator Eddie, would you wish to be informed by Senator Fernandez?
Cherargei is the most uninformed person in this house. I wouldn't wish
Would you wish to be informed?
No.
It's either
I wouldn't
yes
wish.
or no.
I wouldn't wish to be informed by Senator Cherargei. So, Mr. Speaker, I want us to be cautious that we do not put ourselves in a situation whereby we are going to have litigations after this particular process. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the weight of this matter is exemplified by the fact that this particular county is bringing this issue for the second time in this house. I think that if that be so, then it behooves this house to make sure that there is absolute examination of every single issue raised in this particular impeachment. And, Mr. Speaker, we can't ignore the fact that if we do not take our time to examine as thorough as a committee will do, then we will do a disservice to the people of Meru. I agree with the majority that both ways work, but the examination and justice that is needed will happen best when people are committed to examining those issues that have been raised. With that, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to oppose the motion to constitute a committee to hear the matter before the House regarding the governor, removal of the governor of Meru County. And for these reasons, Mr. Speaker. One, Mr. Speaker, this is the second time this governor is being brought for impeachment to this House. Mr. Speaker, the first time the governor was brought here, we appointed a committee. Mr. Speaker, they say only a fool does something the same way and expect different results. And Mr. Speaker, because for the first time we followed the committee way and this is the same governor, I think, Mr. Speaker, it would only be fair that this time round we try plenary, Mr. Speaker. Number two, still on the same, Mr. Speaker, that this is the second impeachment happening in the same, within 1 year, Mr. Speaker. And I pray that you may protect me.
What is your point of order, Senator Eddie?
Please freeze my time.
Mr. Speaker, I raise understanding order number 105 on imputing improper motive, Mr. Speaker. The senator of Murang'a has just said that when this matter first appeared before us in this House, we tried a committee. And therefore, it's a justification enough for us to go the plenary way. Is he imputing that the committee that did the work in the previous matter did not do the right job? Is that what he's implying? and even use the word like stupid in terms of the processes, Mr. Speaker, and fools, Mr. Speaker. Is he suggesting that the committee that was anointed by this House and given that task to do the other time was not proper? And does he want a different outcome because that committee did not do a right job?
Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wouldn't have wanted to spend most of my time responding to standing orders. But, Mr. Speaker, I did not say, and I think it's very important for members to listen keenly. I said, they say, they are adages, Senator, through the Speaker, only a fool does the same thing every time and expect different results. That is not me that said that, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to respond. But, Mr. Speaker, I know he wants to distract me. So, Mr. Speaker, kindly allow me to proceed with my contribution.
Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. Can you conclude your contribution?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just about to say before the rude interruption from the Senator from Migori that, Mr. Speaker, the fact is that this governor is being impeached for the second time. The County Assembly of Meru is like doing an appeal, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, I have a right to be heard, Senator, and then they will raise their points, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Newton, take your seat. And freeze his time, please. What's your point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, I believe that this would fall under the ambit of anticipating debate, because what our colleague, the Senator, is saying is that there is a desired result, and that, in fact, if you go the same way, you will get the same result as last time, and that result was not desirable. What we are saying to him, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with your guidance, nobody should anticipate what result would arise from what process. That is what you guided us to do. So he should refrain in his debate from suggesting that somehow, and by the way, Mr. Speaker, there is no such thing as a second impeachment acting as an appeal. No. I believe, I have not read the facts and the allegations, that they are based on new facts and new allegations, and that they are being treated as a new case to be examined objectively on the basis of the facts and the evidence. So he is out of order, Mr. Speaker, and I would wish that you would rule on that particular objection.
Senator Newton, the motion before us is a motion to have a special committee investigate this matter. From the onset, if I heard you correctly, you're opposed to it, and you favor the plenary. Convince your colleagues why the plenary is the best way to go, without necessarily going the route that Senator for Nairobi has just cautioned.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. I was just about to say, but you have advised me to avoid going that route. But I was just going to say that the second reason that I oppose this particular motion is because we have, from our side, the same members that had this, that did the first impeachment proceedings in this House, Mr. Speaker. And so that was my second reason. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to my colleagues saying that the committee way will be able to investigate the matter in a better way than the plenary way, Mr. Speaker. And my submission is that, Mr. Speaker, from what I know, 2 heads are better than 1. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not convinced that when members are fewer, they'll be able to do a job.
Senator Dulo.
Why are you laughing? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, I believe we have moved, or rather we had 2 impeachment since inception of this particular House. And I think in the last 2 impeachment, we have gone committee way. So it's important also for the members who are new to really understand how the process of plenary goes. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, it is only fair for the members of public also to understand how impeachment is carried in the Senate in a plenary. Because when we go committee way, it's the committee to sit, deliberate, and it is brought to the House whether the charges are sustained or otherwise. Mr. Speaker, I think according to me, the best way to go for the purpose of transparency in the public glaring, that plenary is the best way to go so that members of public can follow the debate and see where the problems are. Personally, I support plenary, and that will be fair to the county assembly, to the people of Meru, to the person who is impeached. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think, according to me, and I believe having sat in plenary and also committee in the last two Senates, the best way to go is plenary. I oppose the motion. I thank you.
Senator Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa wakati huu kuchangia. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati gavana huyu alikuwa hapa kujitetea alipoletwa hapa na kaunti yake husika, gavana huyu aliponea chupu na utetezi wake ulifanywa katika kikao ambacho hatukuwepo, lakini kwa sababu ya uamuzi wa jumla, uamuzi wa seneti kwamba waliokubaliana nayo pia si tukubali, tukakubali shingo upande. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa kaunti hii wana mambo ambayo wangependa kusikia yakitajwa, yakijadiliwa, yakizungumziwa peupe mchana. Watu wa kaunti hii wanataka kujua rafiki yao ni nani, asiyekuwa rafiki yao ni nani. Watu wa kaunti hii wanataka kujua seneti inajua yanayoendelea katika kaunti yao ama hapana. Watu wa kaunti hii wanajua kwamba katika majadiliano ya watu wachache kuna mazungumzo ya chini kwa chini ambayo hao hawahusiki. Leo wana nafasi kusikia wazi wale wanaoitwa madaktari, wanaoitwa maprofesa, wale ambao ni walimu, wadhihirishe uwezo wao wazi mchana kadamnasi ya umma. Ni wapi ama ni shinikizo zipi zinahakikisha kwamba wanapata haki ama wanapata nafasi ya kujieleza, kwa sababu Senate ni jumba la kutetea ugatuzi. Iwapo viongozi kama MCAs wamekata kauli kwamba lazima Pilato awape nafasi wasulubishe Barnaba ama wasulubishe Yesu, sisi ni nani, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuje hapa tuchukue nafasi yao kana kwamba hawana akili, si watu timamu kuamua hatima yao? Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Fuller, you are out of order to the extent of that particular statement.
Naomba msamaha, naomba kuondoa. Lakini kabla sijakaa, Mheshimiwa Spika, watu kwetu usema fisi aliambia jiwe, japo umenyamaza lakini umesikia. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Asige.
Thank you very much, Speaker. First of all, I'm not too sure why Senator Kajwang would have wanted to block me from supporting my whip. However, he is very well aware that I am a musician, and an award-winning musician at that, and my voice will be heard one way or the other. Mr. Speaker, please
Order,
do. I will sing, but I will sing on Friday 3rd at Orchid Lounge for all of us. So please come. That's where you'll find me singing this week. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. And I've heard arguments about promises that have been made in the first impeachment motion, and now they want to be fulfilled here. But, Mr. Speaker, I will remind the House that this is not the second motion, this is the third. If a promise was supposed to have been fulfilled, it should have been done so in the impeachment of the DG of CIA. That has now come and gone, so for me that does not hold. Second, it's also been argued that the same members from the majority side are being recycled in this committee. However, Mr. Speaker, to me, that sounds like an internal wrangle, an internal communication and conversation that should have been had with senators from the majority side, with their leader, and not something that should be brought to this House as part of the debate, because Mr. Speaker, Meru does not want to know who is being recycled or not. Meru does not want, the governor does not want to know, and neither do we, Mr. Speaker. I think that is something that should have been lobbied and persuaded internally for the majority side. Mr. Speaker, I also believe that committee is the correct way to go, because interrogations will be had, and and the evidence, thank you, will be combed through in a much more succinct way than if we are sitting here throwing mud at each other, slinging at each other in terms of our debates, and then of course wasting the precious time of this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I just want to reiterate the importance of giving somebody, in this case, the governor of Meru, a fair hearing, and that will be done if, in my opinion, 11 people sit down, put their heads down and focus on the evidence and interrogate this matter to its conclusion. And thereafter, the House will have an opportunity to vote either for or against whatever the committee decides. Mr. Speaker, I want to again reiterate that I support the motion, and I thank Senator Kajwang for giving me, even though not in the first instance, this instance to do so.
Senator Mutembei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise as a delegation of Meru to completely oppose this motion. One, Mr. Speaker, I want to state that as a new member in this House, it gives us an experience on matters plenary, because as Emel had promised last time, this was the way to go, so that even as a House, we can have the plenary experience. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, I have noticed that even in this motion contribution, I am the third female senator to contribute in this motion. This being a female governor, we want plenary because we want an opportunity to be able to have a feel as women senators, to be able to understand, is it leadership issues, is it other issues in this county? That is why we want plenary, so that all the voices of all the women in this House can be heard, so that we can be able to make the right decision for the great people of Meru County. You look at the list for the committee, the 11 committee members that have been put. I've had, if my mind serves me correctly, I think I've had only 3 female senators. We want a bigger voice as women, so that our voices are completely heard on the contribution that we are going to make. When the people elected the honorable governor, it was not about not knowing that she was a female. We want as female to be respected. So we want our voices to be fully heard. They can only be heard completely through plenary in this House. So I continue rising and supporting that we go the plenary way, so that completely we execute the issues of Meru extensively, massively, for the benefit of the people of Meru. The governor has been impeached again. Again, it saddens me, because we were in the first line with Senator Gloria supporting and being happy that the governor has survived. Now again, it has come back. As on this particular platform, we try the plenary way, so that we get now to understand the real issues. Also as leaders, as female, to understand the deeper issues. The only answer is on plenary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa hii fursa niweze kusupport hii motion ya kwamba hii impeachment ipelekwe kwa committee. Na Bwana Spika, nimesikia wengi wakisema ya kwamba hii impeachment motion ikipelekwa kwa committee haitapata haki. Hii inamaanisha kwamba zile petitions zote na statements na motions zinaletwa hapa na zinapelekwa kwa committee hazipati haki. Hazipati haki kabisa. Zinapata haki, ninaamini zinapata haki, na kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nina support hii motion ipelekwe kwa committee ili watu wa Meru waweze kupata haki yao, na pia Governor Kawira aweze kupata haki yake, na wawe na wakati wa kuwasikiliza vizuri. Bwana Spika, nimekaa kwa committee ya impeachment mara mbili. Hii ya Kawira imekwisha, na ingine ilikuwa ya Western, ilikuwa ya Northeastern. Bwana Spika, pale kuna wakati mwema sana wa watu kusikilizwa. Kama ni governor asikilizwe, kama ni malalamishi ya MCAs na watu wa Meru pia wasikilizwe vizuri kwa makini. Na kwenda kwa committee haimaanishi ya kwamba watu wa media hawezi kuja pale, watu wa Meru wakaweza kufuata kabisa kile kinatendeka kwa committee. Mimi niko kwa committee ile ya Bomb Blast 1998, na kila wakati munaona kwa media, kwa maana tunaita watu wa media pale kuja, itakuwa wazi hata kwa committee. Nina support iende kwa committee. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator wa Matenga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise from the onset to oppose. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am quite perturbed by the mathematics that have been done in this House. I thought, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a bigger number will give us a wider base of knowledge. Mr. Speaker, sir, 11 members cannot and will never possess the knowledge that the 67 members in this House must have. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I do not want to repeat that this is the second time that the governor will be coming here, and therefore it is very important that the whole nation, indeed, and specifically women in this country, get to follow the issues so that it will never be blamed on the Senate that it was a gendered issue. Mr. Speaker, sir, the only opportunity that we have is to open up for everybody, for all the 67, including our colleagues, the women, so that it will be said that the Senate did justice to the people of Kenya, to the people of Meru, and most importantly, to our daughters who are also aspiring in the future to become leaders. Mr. Speaker, sir, when I hear the names of the 11 members, I must admit that we do not have two sets of brains, that one you leave when you're going to the committee and the other one that you take when you're going to the plenary. Mr. Speaker, we use the same brains, whether we are 11 here in the House or we are the whole House. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important. This is an emotive issue and we must consider the weight it carries by going the plenary way so that the whole Republic of Kenya will know that indeed this senior House, this superior House has the composition to deliver justice not only to Kenyans but of course to the future generations. And I want also to be very future-centric. We need to give the confidence of all our daughters who aspire to become leaders that indeed the House of Senate can deliver justice by opening this so that it will be discussed in clear daylight for everybody to take home. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Senator Mwaruma.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to support the motion by Senator Lekina. Firstly, I would like to say, Mr. Speaker, that both ways, plenary way and committee way, are provided for in the standing orders. However, Mr. Speaker, one of them is better than another in terms of how we approach the proceedings. Mr. Speaker, when you go the committee way, we have an opportunity to have an in-depth understanding of the cases because we interrogate the documents better when we are fewer, Mr. Speaker. We had opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to go through the same petition of Kawira Mwangaza, Honorable, when we were led by Senator Boni Khalwale, Dr. Boni Khalwale. And I think the work that was done in that committee was a sterling job. We looked at the documents very soberly, and we came up with a finding that the allegations were not substantiated. When you went to the committee way, in the case of Deputy Governor for Siaya, again the committee that was there looked at the documents, and there were some allegations that were substantiated. But again, there was opportunity when you came to plenary, again to overturn the findings of the committee and Honorable Odol was let off the hook. So, Mr. Speaker, I think both ways are okay because they're allowed in the standing orders, but it's better when you use a committee because then we can interrogate the issues much better to have a close understanding and a better understanding of the issues. Mr. Speaker, when I saw the list from the majority side, I knew we were set. It was a poison chalice because the same members who had participated in the other petition for Kawira Mwangaza were the same people who are put in the committees. So I knew they were set so that they can be disenchanted, so that they can be disenfranchised and vote against the committee way. So I think, Mr. Speaker, I would be waiting for the vote, but most likely if we go the committee way, then you can give the people of Meru the justice that they require, Mr. Speaker. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me use the word of Senator Maruma. Thank you very much for noticing the issue of the 6 members. And Senator Ledama should have known this. And I think we don't need to waste a lot of time. Mr. Speaker, Article 181 is very clear. It talks about impeachment of a governor. Standing Order 80B1 talks about special committee. B2 talks about the plenary. Mr. Speaker, 7 governors were impeached since 2013, starting from Governor Wambora, Governor Chepkwony, Waititu, Anne Waiguru, Mike Sonko, Mohammed Abdi from Wajir. This is to notify Senator for Machakos. We don't have a governor, a county called Northeastern. We have a county called Wajir. That is where Mohammed Abdi comes from, was impeached. And the latest governor to be impeached now is Senator Kawira Mwangaza from Meru. And also, we had an opportunity to have our guest here, Deputy Governor, Dr. William Odwol. William Odwol went through 11-member, Martin Wambora, 11-member committee, Chepkwony, 11-member committee, Anne Waiguru went through 11-member committee, and also Mohammed Abdi went through 11-member committee. And the latest one, the previous Governor Kawira went through 11-member. And Waititu went through plenary, and also Senator Governor Mike Sonko, Sonko's impeachment went through plenary. Mr. Speaker, these methods are all okay. And I don't want to say I will support it or oppose it. But I would want to ask our brothers on the other side, let us not argue on this. Let's go plenary way, because it's an experience for some of us also to learn this process for new members like me and others, and those members who didn't go through this process. I will request kindly, let's follow this process and have plenary way. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajong.
Mr. Speaker, as I rise to comment on this motion, the leadership of this House, and those are the gentlemen and women we have put in the Senate Business Committee, should spare us this agony that we are going through. Mr. Speaker, this debate has not helped to educate anybody. It has only helped to expose the bias amongst the judges sitting in this House. Senators will be sitting as judges, and the bias is clear. Everyone who stands on my side supports, everyone who stands on the other side opposes, and yet we have not even heard the case. We have only read the charges. Mr. Speaker, in future, I want to encourage the SBC, because that is where the numbers are balanced, and we've got our leaders that we trust, and the leaders that we have entrusted with a mandate, to bring us a formula that will not be subjected to debate. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the Leader of Majority referred to Standing Order number 80.
What is the point of order, Senator Ledama?
Mike. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on Standing Order number 80, which is the standing order that we are prosecuting. And I would not wish to disrupt my colleague and brother, who I respect quite a lot. But is the distinguished senator from Homa Bay in order to suggest that the House Business Committee can make a decision which is clearly stipulated on how that decision should be made in our standing order? Mr. Speaker, this House, the House Business Committee, deals with the calendar of the House. Matters are resolved. In fact, when you read, Mr. Speaker, you clearly indicated that this is a decision, a resolution of the Senate. The House Business Committee is not the Senate. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to persuade my brother to look at the standing order and not point aspersion on the House business, but call upon the entire House to amend the law as well as amend the standing orders so that a formula can be brought which will not solicit the debate that people will need to decide that people have already made up their mind. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like you to find my dear brother out of order.
Senator Kajwang, the decision as to whether to go the committee way or the plenary is a decision to be made by the House. The SBC can only facilitate a member wishing to bring a motion on the committee. In this regard, the SBC facilitated the tabling of the motion by the Senator for Narok. But the decision ultimately is supposed to be done by the House.
Speaker, because it's a matter of interpretation, I do not necessarily have to agree with you, Mr. Speaker, because if you look at Standing Order number 81B...
Senator Kajwang, the chair has ruled.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will not challenge your ruling.
Please,
but
proceed to
what standing order, and I'm not challenging your ruling. I am proceeding with what I wanted to say.
Proceed,
that
please.
the standing orders, the only thing that requires a resolution is a special committee. The plenary is the default mode of operation of this House. If you want a special committee, you bring a resolution. You seek a resolution of the House. Otherwise, by default, this Senate is supposed to process impeachments in plenary. Special committee is an exception that is acquired through a resolution of the House. And I'm not challenging, Mr. Speaker, I am not challenging the tabling of this motion, because this motion seeks the resolution. Yes. So there's nothing wrong with the motion. But the default position of the Senate is to prosecute in plenary so that all of us can be present. Mr. Speaker, I want to finalize by saying that let us be extremely careful so that those people in the county assembly, in Meru, and in the entire nation does not start looking at us through the coalition colors and through the coalition formations. This debate has been fairly poisonous, and it is exposing some bias that might be prejudicial to what we will be dealing with in the next couple of days. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Senator Ledama. Senator Ledama. Order. Order. Senator Chirange. And I need Senator Kajwang. Okay. The mandate of the Senate is to prosecute this matter at the plenary. However, the Senate, in its own wisdom, can decide to form a committee. Yes. Senator Chirange.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the motion from the onset on the 3 reasons. One, Mr. Speaker, the trophy and the defenders of devolution today in the afternoon, Mr. Speaker, sir, goes to the great members of County Assembly of Meru. Mr. Speaker, I hope many MCAs should benchmark with the wonderful work that the MCAs of Meru are doing. They have been very consistent and patient, and I want to laud them for taking the bold step, Mr. Speaker. You know, unfortunately, governors have made most of our MCAs as their partners in bad governance in counties, Mr. Speaker. This should be a warning to many county governors that when you have MCAs who play their rightful role of oversight, Mr. Speaker, then it is very important. So I allowed, Mr. Speaker. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, there are reasons as to why standing order number 80 and section 33 is very clear. Mr. Speaker, when we prosecute either by committee or by plenary, Mr. Speaker, I want to invite most of the colleagues who have never had the privilege and rare opportunity of prosecuting to do plenary, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator Eddy?
Freeze my time.
Mr. Speaker, I rise with the point of order of limiting debates. Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Nandi has just prosecuted on this matter conclusively, stood in front of this House and gave a judgment on the work of MCAs and on the personality of the governor for Meru, which in his own wisdom, what you read as charges that were forwarded before us, the governor stands guilty. Mr. Speaker, the debate that we are having here is whether we are going to prosecute these matters on principle in committee or in the plenary. Is Senator Cherargei in order, Mr. Speaker, to make a judgment on substantive issues that we are yet to discuss as a House, Mr. Speaker? And Mr. Speaker, in your ruling, Mr. Speaker, I find this one grossly disorderly, Mr. Speaker. Given that you had given Senator Cherargei a lot of warnings, Mr. Speaker, and I think that he's doing this deliberately, Mr. Speaker, perhaps to actually disregard the orders that you're giving, Mr. Speaker. I think you should find him in order, Mr. Speaker, if it pleases you so, and throw him out of this House, Mr. Speaker, because he's reducing this House to a mere theater of jokes, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cherargei, I gave the guidance when I was giving the communication. What is before you is a motion to pass a resolution for special committee. Either you're for it or you're not for it. The substance of the impeachment cannot be the subject matter of any senator's contribution here. It's either you're opposing and you give the reasons why you think the plenary will be a better forum to handle this matter. Kindly avoid delving into the substance of the impeachment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm well guided, but in the words of Burning Spear, there is a saying that we are not all that stupid, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to borrow in the words of Lucky Dube, Mr. Speaker, the reggae, that justice, fairness, and social equality should be the cornerstone, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm saying is we need to ensure that there are principles of natural justice. Mr. Speaker, plenary, Waititu case, Songo case, among other governors that we listen to, Mr. Speaker, through plenary, it gives opportunity to new members to learn. Because Senate should be the learning curve to expose them, Mr. Speaker. The committee way is limited because at the resolution of the committee, I had a misconception and misleading the House at some point by some members that saying Senate will have the second bite on the cherry. It does not have, Mr. Speaker. Because when the committee sits and agree that governor is not guilty or not guilty, Mr. Speaker, then that matter ends there, Mr. Speaker. So we are ready to listen to the plenary way as we listen to the tunes of guitar, Mr. Speaker, so that we understand be very keen and be very to listen, Mr. Speaker. So I propose that we go to plenary way. I have been the champion of plenary way on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, so that we have opportunity, Mr. Speaker, so that Senator Crystal Asige, and I want to inform members, Mr. Speaker, for benefit, because I rarely give out my advice pro bono, Mr. Speaker, but today I do it for free. Mr. Speaker, you have opportunity to cross-examine, to analyze, to look at the documentation, Senator Okiya Omtata, so that when somebody moves to court, the way Senator Okiya Omtata moved, Mr. Speaker, they will not question that Senate did not consider, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I oppose. Let us go to plenary way. And I thank my chair, Mr. Speaker. He is always brilliant. Senator Moses Otieno Kajwang is the man to watch.
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna, I can only pick a senator from this side whose name is on the dashboard. As we speak, the names on the dashboard are all from this side. So if you wish to speak, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say something which hasn't been said, that you see, and honorable members who are practitioners in the courts, Mr. Speaker, when a witness appears before you, you have the benefit of looking at that witness. You see the eyes, you see the demeanor of that witness, you appreciate even the voice in terms of presentation, whether that person is actually telling the truth. You have the opportunity to feel that witness. Now, since this Senate is going to be sitting as a court, Mr. Speaker, it's fair, and I'm trying to, appeal to the legal minds on the other side, that, Mr. Speaker, since we are sitting
what is your point of
as
order,
a court,
Senator Mungatana, kindly yield.
I will yield.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I wanted, it's a point of clarification. Is the good Senator Mungatana trying to imply that people who cannot see will not be able to prosecute a matter? Is because we know very well that we even in Kenya have a judge who is blind, and he does a fantastic job and he does not see the witness's demeanor, their facial expressions, or anything else in terms of body language. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like some clarification from Mungatana if that point in his argument is actually factual. Thank you.
Senator Mungatana,
Mr. Speaker,
be sensitive on this matter.
I hardly wish to engage my very good friend, because we come a long way with the old man. So I don't want to go that way. But even if you have challenges in terms of visual challenges, Mr. Speaker, you still, when the witness is before you, you feel the voice. You feel it. And Mr. Speaker, especially for people who have been in this court for a long time, you can actually tell whether a witness is telling a lie or telling the truth. So, Mr. Speaker, my point, which hasn't been said, is that we want the court, the entire Senate, to have the benefit of the witness. I want to see Kawira Mwangaza, because the last time I never saw her. I never saw her, I never heard anything from her. I just, the committee sat and then said she was okay. I want to see her. I want to see what is the problem. How does this person who is disturbing the entire Meru, how does she look like, Mr. Speaker? I just want to see. I support that we should have plenary. I oppose this motion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Karungo. Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I must thank you because I landed back today from Angola, where you had appointed me to represent this country at the IPU Assembly. And that shows that you have confidence in me. Mr. Speaker, the same thing I can say, whoever put my name on this motion to be a member of the 11 member committee has a lot of confidence in me. Because, Mr. Speaker, I really was part of that committee previously. Maybe probably I bring institutional memory, and probably I know a thing or two. And that's why I'm standing here, Mr. Speaker, to support this motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have to support it because I believe the committee work is supposed to investigate and, of course, substantiate the allegations. Now, how does a plenary investigate, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I believe in the rule of law, in processes, because I know one day, one time, I'm going to be here, Mr. Speaker. What I'm trying to insinuate, Mr. Speaker, the only problem...
What is the point of order, Senator Cheriot?
Mr. Speaker, wouldn't it have been, I'm just curious, I've heard Senator Karungo say, how does the plenary do an investigation? Then my question to him is, how will you find out if you don't give yourself the chance to serve in a plenary? Because you've had the opportunity to serve in a committee. Do not be victim of the misinformation that is being peddled on the floor. I have told you, as your leader, and I cannot mislead you, that there is nothing that you can do in a committee which you cannot do in plenary, including questioning the witness.
That is more of a point of information than a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that information. I hope you freezed my time. Mr. Speaker, Senator Chute enumerated very well those who went through the committee and those who went through the plenary. May I inform this House that those who went through the committee, they are still in office, or they never left office. Those who went through the plenary, they are home today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so, but my issue...
Order. If you have information to pass, you know exactly what to do.
Mr. Speaker, before I'm informed, I am standing here to say that I believe in the committee way. The only problem with the committee is when they find out that grounds are not substantiated, they don't we don't discuss that report. And that's why I have a bill that is in your office, Mr. Speaker. Probably it will be here, whereby we should always be going through the committee. But either, whether they find substantiated or not substantiated, it must be brought to the plenary for scrutiny so that we can go through it, all of us. But a committee will always do a good work by writing to offices. Now imagine, we want to stand here as a plenary and I want to investigate myself. Do I write as Senator Dhangwa or do I write to the Speaker for the Speaker to write to that office? But a committee has a chair.
Senator Roba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to contribute to this motion before I decide whether to oppose or to support. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to have served in the first impeachment as a committee member, and quite sincerely, I hold a favorable view that a committee will do justice to this impeachment process by getting the opportunity to be able to look in depth into the issues. However, Mr. Speaker, I was disadvantaged. It was unfortunate enough the behavior that was portrayed during the first impeachment by members of this House. And members of this House were people who are not members of the committee who really went ahead to give even derogatory statements directly in the face of committee members in the most disrespectful manner, without any justification whatsoever, that has really put a lot of, question mark on, the diligently,
the diligent investigation done by the committee and the decision that the committee undertook. And eventually, what came out is a situation that manifested a position of distrust within our own members here. And I want to go on record for purposes of, for the benefit of the people of Meru County, for them to understand we are not prosecuting anything at the Senate right now. We're only trying to agree on modalities of execution of the responsibility before us, and as such, there's no predetermined position. We're only agreeing which both ways are legal. I incline, because of that bad experience and the position of distrust that was portrayed by members of this House, that maybe for the benefit of them getting to understand the treacherous work that the committees undergo, to give them the opportunity for that to be executed through the plenary as suggested. Both ways are legal, and Honorable Speaker, I am not responding to my brother Kajwang, but there is nothing wrong, with holding different views, in terms of whether A or B in terms of what is constitutionally allowed. And we're only taking that position. That is my take, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I oppose.
Senator Akenyi, Beatrice.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the position that we go the committee way. One, Honorable Speaker, from the presentations earlier, one of the senators indicated that we should give new members an opportunity to also get the experience of the committees. And Honorable Speaker, I've seen in the names that have been forwarded, Senator Sige is one of them. She had not been a member of an earlier committee, and so I want to support. That will be a very good opportunity for her also to experience the committee way. And Honorable Speaker, that should also follow that a number of us that are new in the next time will also get an opportunity to experience the committee way of dealing with impeachment. And Honorable Speaker, the second reason why I want to support going by the committee is that committees are also...
Order, Senators. Senator Miraj.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The committee will also ensure that the matter is dealt with clarity, Honorable Speaker, because there will be fewer members, less time is spent in the deliberations. And so, Honorable Speaker, I support the committee way so that we also want to see the committee should also intensely study how over 3/4 of MCAs would vote against the governor. And that can only be determined by intensively looking at the matter in a more, where less members are. I therefore support the committee way, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Veronica.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I rise to oppose this motion for the reason that Standing Order 80 provides for the procedure for removal of a governor. It provides either for plenary and provides for a special committee. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the functions that are laid out in Standing Order 82 A and B, Mr. Speaker, the function remains the same for both the special committee and the plenary, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, just in line with the message you read to this House as you were detailing the charges that have come from the Meru County, it was clear, Mr. Speaker, that when Senate resumes as plenary or as a special committee to consider the charges that are levied against the governor, Mr. Speaker, either the special committee or the plenary will have the function to investigate the matter, and it will suit as a quasi-judicial body, Mr. Speaker. That means it will not be ordinary debate. It will be a body that will be investigative in nature. Any document that is presented, nothing will stop the Senate, the plenary, Mr. Speaker, from questioning any document, taking evidence, Mr. Speaker, calling and cross-examining any witness who appears before the plenary or the special committee. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I have found a bit of submissions that have been brought to this House almost not in consonance with Standing Order 80. There seems to be a misunderstanding. Some senators are thinking that when Senate recedes to discuss or investigate this matter, they will be operating as a normal debate. That cannot be further from the truth, Mr. Speaker. And if, Mr. Speaker, the plenary is not good enough, then the special committee is not good enough. So if the plenary is good, if the special committee is good, then the plenary is good enough, because the special committee will be drawn from the same body of senators, Mr. Speaker. It's not outsiders coming in here. It's the same group of senators, Mr. Speaker. When it is in the plenary, Mr. Speaker, it gives an opportunity to many more senators to bring in their perspective, raise all the questions, interrogate the matter that is before the House, Mr. Speaker, and it brings a richness that comes from the diversity of the number of senators who will be sitting here. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I stand to oppose that motion and say that both should be treated equally, and what the plenary or the special committee will need to do is observe what is provided for under Article 50 of the Constitution to render a fair process to the governor when she appears here and to those who are complaining against the governor, Mr. Speaker. And for those reasons...
Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I have listened very carefully to my colleagues who are supporting the motion to have this process done in a committee, and I cannot state a single reason. They say no process is better, but the committee is better. Mr. Speaker, barely 1 year since Governor of Meru, Governor Kawira Mwangaza, appeared before the Senate on an impeachment motion. She is back again. And Mr. Speaker, the day that it was ruled in the County Assembly of Meru that the governor had been impeached, headlines were flowing. The conversation was national. And Mr. Speaker, such a matter that has elicited such interest, such national interest, it is proper as a House that we make the decision to have the plenary process, because it is more transparent, it is more inclusive. Kenyans want to know what is happening in Meru. And this process is going to give even an integrity to this House, because it is going to be open. Nothing is being done behind closed doors. And Mr. Speaker, a motion that Sifuna supports with so much vigor, I cannot be part of. Senator Sifuna, sorry. I must oppose it because for reasons best known to me and my other colleagues who agree with me. So, Mr. Speaker, we have precedents have been set before of successful plenary sessions that executed impeachment processes. Successfully, some saved the governor and some sent the governor home. So, Mr. Speaker, let this House rise to the occasion and do what the country is expecting of us, which is to make this process as open as possible to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Miraj.
I'm joking.
Mbona? Asante mstahiki Bwana Spika, na mimi nasimama kupinga hoja hii na kubaliana na seneta mwenzangu Tabitha ya kwamba sisi kama wanawake tutakuwa wachache katika kutoa mwelekeo wa impeachment hii. Kwa hivyo mimi pia naungana na walio wengi kusema hiyo hoja iletwe hapa tuisikize sote kwa pamoja. Asante.
Senator Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
As a staunch defender of women and women's rights, I stand to oppose the motion that has been tabled by Senator Ledama. Mr. Speaker, I've been on record talking about fair hearing. I've been on record talking about transparency, Mr. Speaker. And I believe wherever Governor Kawira is seated and watching and following, I believe that I speak on behalf of her thoughts today, that she wants to come to the public finally to defend and to tell us what is really happening, Mr. Speaker. And plenary offers her that opportunity, Mr. Speaker. As women leaders, we are tired of people insinuating that we are flower girls, insinuating that we are being protected. Let her come to plenary, Mr. Speaker, and defend her leadership and defend what she thinks or she assumes is good governance, Mr. Speaker. Because as women of this country, women leaders, Mr. Speaker, we are tired of being assumed. So, Mr. Speaker, I support that we go for plenary. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this, that I really want to question, since the last report was tabled of Governor Kawira's impeachment, how many of the 67 senators have actually read that report and can actually tell us that these were the grounds of letting her go? Mr. Speaker, we all know that we trust the committees to do the job and we trust their leadership, Mr. Speaker. And so therefore, when the report is tabled, we trust that the committee has done a good job. But for once, Mr. Speaker, especially for us new senators, we want to interrogate all these questions that are being raised concerning her impeachment, Mr. Speaker. And I stand here, I'm saying this as a staunch defender, a devoted and committed woman leader who really supports women leadership. We would like to see Governor Kawira in plenary so that she can be able to speak on her own behalf and even defend women leaders who are defending her out there. And if she's found guilty, Mr. Speaker, I will be the first one. I'll be the first one to say this woman must go home. And if she's found innocent, Mr. Speaker, I will be the first one again, yet again, as we walked with her down these corridors, to walk with her and show people that women leaders can be given a chance and they can deliver. So I don't think that there's an issue of what we are debating. Let Governor Kawira come to plenary and defend her position. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sige.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak to also this particular motion. And from the very onset, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the motion to subject this investigation before a committee. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time that the Senate, the governor is appearing before this House. And this is not the first investigation or impeachment motion that is brought before this House. From the time the Senate was established, we've had 13 out of 13, Mr. Speaker. 3 have gone through plenary, 10 have gone through the committee. There is no harm if this one goes to the plenary. And for the following reasons, and that is why I'm opposing the motion, is that the accusation that if it goes before the plenary, there will not be proper or appropriate investigation is not founded on any basis. The team of senators in this House, whether from the minority or majority, will apply their mind. They will investigate on the evidence that will be brought before the House, subject the governor to an inquiry, and she will be given an opportunity to defend herself. There is no basis to say that there will be a better outcome if it goes before the committee rather than if it goes or if it comes to the plenary. And that is one of the main reasons as to why I wish this particular impeachment is dealt with before the whole House. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, is what we've heard of the list of the senators who've been proposed to sit in the committee. We all desire to also learn. The majority leader has made reference to the fact that you can only experience by learning. We also desire to have an opportunity to question, to investigate, and to inquire from the governor before the plenary, because not all of us are able to fit into the 11-member committee. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the motion that the committee way be the preferred way. And I thank you.
Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to oppose the motion. And Mr. Speaker, as I do so, I want to say that there was wisdom. The drafters of the standing orders of this House gave two options, through plenary or through a special committee. But Mr. Speaker, both options will do one particular thing, that is to investigate, whether plenary or in the committee. Mr. Speaker, what is investigation? If you read in the dictionary, it says it is carrying out systematic or formal inquiry to discover and examine the facts so as to establish the truth. The question, Mr. Speaker, that arises is it possible in the plenary to undertake systematic and formal investigation? And the answer is yes. Just as also it is true that in committee, you can do the same. Mr. Speaker, when this issue came before the House, the first time the governor for Meru was impeached, Mr. Speaker, this House gave a chance to the committee. And Mr. Speaker, we know the consequences of that particular impeachment motion. Mr. Speaker, today we have the second impeachment motion. Mr. Speaker, I think it is prudent for this House, this time round, we should be able to allow plenary to deal with this matter, Mr. Speaker, so that we discover, we do the inquiry. And Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with what Senator Nyeri spoke about. We don't think better in special committee than when we're in plenary. In fact, to me, Mr. Speaker, the debate and the discussion in plenary will actually even be more transparent, open. Mr. Speaker, I think it is wrong for anybody to imagine that by having a plenary debate on this impeachment, then we are going to deny the governor a chance, Mr. Speaker, to prove our case. Mr. Speaker, the same standing order 80 is clear that this governor will choose to have a representation by a legal counsel.
Senator Seki. What is the point of order, Senator Sifuna?
With your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, under Standing Order 109, I would like to propose that we now call the mover to reply.
Senator Sifuna, go to Standing Order 110-4. I'll just read it for the benefit of your colleagues and yourself in particular. 109. 109.3, in fact. Do you wish to proceed with your point of order? No. Good. Senator Seki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to oppose this motion on the impeachment of Governor Kawira. I want to take this opportunity to say that this Senate, this House, has an opportunity to understand more about the issues of Meru County, rather than going to the committee way. I suggest that and propose that we go the plenary way, because it will give us opportunity to hear for ourselves, to see what is happening in Meru County, and understand more problems that are coming from the governor herself. I want to take this opportunity to say that going the committee way, we tried that, and it is another chance that we also experience this opportunity to go the plenary way. I want to say that, yes, it is true. We have seen this house going through committee ways in different or with different governors that who have been impeached. But I believe that this process of plenary will give us a chance as new senators also to debate and also to give our contribution as delegations of counties to this motion. So I think I do oppose this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as by Standing Order 80, the Senate, we have the two options, either to go to plenary or committee way. I want to speak as the chair of, I was the chair for impeachment motion for Deputy Governor for Siaya, and during that particular impeachment motion and process, Honorable Speaker, we were able to give both sides, the accusers and the Deputy Governor, enough time. We sat as a committee through the night looking at all the reports. From my side, Honorable Speaker, I believe the committee way is the best way to go. Honorable Speaker, members have an issue with the 6 members from Kenya Kwanza side who sat December last year when they were presiding over the impeachment motion for Kawira. I believe the reason why they're put there by the leadership of Kenya Kwanza, it's because they want them to bring historical memory. That's the reason why they are there, so that they can help to check if the accusations that have been brought again are the same. Honorable Speaker, it's not that when we have 11 members, the others, Honorable Speaker, when we did that impeachment process, the process was covered live. The people of Meru, the MCs from Meru, they'll be able to see, because all the media houses will be there covering live, the same as if we have it at plenary. So by going to committee way, we are not losing anything. If anything, will gain, because if the committee finds that there is substantiated allegations, then it will come to the committee. It will come to plenary. There will be 2 options. I mean, there will be 2 opportunities for the Speaker, for the Governor. Honorable Speaker, I support this motion and ask my colleagues, this is a bipartisan motion, just to agree on numbers on a committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Senator Kenywa.
Asante sana, Bwana Speaker.
But who has given you that permission to stand? Senator Kenywa.
Asante Bwana Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii.
What is your point of order, Senator Mutata?
Order number 109, and ask that the move of the motion be now called upon to reply, because we are now bombing rubble. We are repeating ourselves. There's nothing new being said. So let the mover be called to reply.
Now, Honorable have a seat, Senator Folamu. You can take your seat, please. Now, Honorable Senators, Senator Omtata has read the mood of the House and is seeking for the chair to call the mover to reply. Now, will as many? No. Senator Mwaruma, take your seat. this is a matter we can dispense with in a minute. Okay? So I will proceed to put the question. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? So the ayes have it. Senator Ledama, proceed to reply.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I rise to reply. And Mr. Speaker, I've listened to all our colleagues make contributions. And as I reply, Mr. Speaker, there are a few things that I think are important that must be clarified for particularly the new members who have come here, so that when you make a decision, either way, you know the beauty of debates, Mr. Speaker, is that you either for or against. My job is to persuade you to find it fit to support the motion, but with reason. Debates, when I was in school, I was taught that debate enriches skills. It also challenges you to be able to think outside the box. Mr. Speaker, during the submissions of our colleagues, one of our colleagues have indicated clearly that it is important for the governor to be able to come to this plenary so that she can be able to defend herself and all senators get a chance to cross-examine her. Mr. Speaker, I want to correct that assertion. When we sit as 67 members of the Senate, we'll only sit as a jury. The only thing we can be able to do is to seek clarification. You will rise and say, can you please clarify what you just said? The reason why, Mr. Speaker, I was persuading, and this is why I still want to persuade you, to consider the committee way, is because that is the only option you will have to cross-examine any witness. Sitting here during plenary, Mr. Speaker, will all be juries. In fact, these televisions will be switched off, and then all of us, after the governor and the assembly have made their case, sit down to now consult and talk among each other as juries, 67 of us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is important that any decision we make as a Senate, we make it when we are fully informed. Mr. Speaker, I want to persuade the new members who have made an argument that they have not been given an opportunity to be able to experience a committee, and they want to be given an opportunity to participate in an impeachment motion. Mr. Speaker, on our side of the divide, we propose new members. And in fact, out of the 11 members, we have proposed in total, for both sides, 4 women. That is above a third. Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to note that we are discussing about precedents. We are discussing, Mr. Speaker, about procedures, whether committee, whether plenary. If you are sitting there thinking that in plenary, you will get an opportunity to cross-examine a witness, the news is you will not be able to do that. You will only be a jury. So those are the issues that we must consider, Mr. Speaker,
order, senators,
as we make our decision.
Senator Boni, and Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are a new democracy. In fact, now I'm happy that soon we'll be celebrating 60 years of independence. We have chosen a presidential system of governance. In the United States, Mr. Speaker, during an impeachment process, a group of representatives who are referred to as managers prosecute the matters and then submit. Once the charges have been read, they prosecute the matters and then submit a report for the full House to debate. we are quite far, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the issue of understanding issues to do with the impeachment process. And I know, Mr. Speaker, and I want to persuade my colleagues that I know that we are sitting here, and in most cases, Mr. Speaker, what drives us is our political affiliation, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind us, and as I persuade you, as I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to persuade you that whatever happens today, remember it will go on record. It is something which will be able to help build this Senate. I know as you sit there, you've made up your mind. But for the people of Meru, it is important for the people of Meru to know that today we are not prosecuting, we are not debating the issue
Honorable Senators.
of either to send the governor away. The only thing we are debating is whether
What is your point of order,
to give
Senator,
it to
for
11 members of the Senate to be able to cross-examine witnesses.
Senator Ledama.
Honorable Speaker, it is very unfortunate that I did not get an opportunity also to speak on this particular matter which is touching on my county. But Mr. Speaker, you know, Honorable Rendama, Senator Rendama convinced us enough. And I think he is just delivering his points that he gave us. So can you kindly summarize? Can you just summarize and then we make the decision? Yes. Yeah, you just summarize your reply. You don't need to, that is the reason why you could have been given 2 minutes each. Because I was on the queue also. It is not fair at all.
Senator Fomeru, indeed I am aware. Indeed I'm aware that this matter originates from your home county. However, if you look at our standing orders, the mover has 20 minutes to make a reply. So, Senator Ledama, you are left with 3 of the 20.
3 of the 20?
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I was left with 17 of the 20, but I will respect...
Proceed, the 3 minutes now you have
within 3 minutes, Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude as follows. You know, we can make all the noise. And, Mr. Speaker, please...
Order. What is the point of order,
Talk to Senator Cherargei. Freeze my time.
Mr. Speaker, I needed for future engagement. I'm raising understanding order number 98, number 103, number 47, 48, and number 111. Mr. Speaker, I need your interpretation. When a motion is limited, after you have put the open for the debate, does it mean that the mover, when they are replying, are also limited to 3 minutes? My interpretation and the upshot in such, so that we don't go to conundrum, Mr. Speaker, is to have the mover to reply, to restrain themselves to 3 minutes, because that is the import of standing order number 111. So is it in order, Mr. Speaker, to request you kindly, understanding what number 1 and the import of standing order 111, to call the mover, Mr. Speaker, to just finish under 3 minutes, just like any Mr. Speaker, because this is like animal farm. It's not like animal farm where, Mr.
Senator
Speaker.
Fernandi, had you not showed up on a point of order, Senator Ledama will be through by now. I said he had 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the guidance. I just needed that clarity. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, you know, my dear brother from Nandi loved to hear the sound of
Senator Ledama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just proceed to conclude.
Let me conclude in 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to conclude with the following. Number 1, that it is important for us to know the facts of either committee or plenary. During committee, our distinguished 11 senators will get a chance to retreat, to go and write a well-thought-out report and come back here to be able to persuade us either to send the governor home or to save the governor. During plenary, Mr. Speaker, this will only take 2 days. There is no time to go and retreat. And looking at the calendar, Mr. Speaker, it is quite evident that maybe we'll have only the 7th and the 8th, and that's done. So, Mr. Speaker, as we leave this House today, and as my colleagues from both sides of the aisle make their determination on whether to go plenary or committee, remember that impeachment is a very painful process that I would never wish for anybody. So I plead with you to support
order members.
My brother from Meru, I have a lot of tremendous respect, Mr. Speaker, for the Deputy Speaker. But the Deputy Speaker, being the Deputy Speaker, sits in that seat, knows the rules of debate. The issue here is this: let us not make it a shouting matter. I am trying to convince you, if we bring Narok here, I'll be sitting here, you will tell me the same thing. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply, and I request you to support.
Thank you. Now, honorable senators, as you may notice, this is a procedural motion. It does not go to the substance of the subject of impeachment. It is a procedural motion. And therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 84-1, I will proceed to make my determination, which is it does not affect the counties, being a procedural motion. Senator Eddy, I will throw you out. And therefore, I will proceed now to put the question. At the end of the question, voting shall be by voice. Honorable senators, and I put the question. Senator Karen Nyamu, kindly walk in and take your seat. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on Wednesday, 25th of October 2023, the Meru County Assembly, order members. How will you vote if you won't hear the question? Or what are you going to vote on if you cannot be still to hear the question? Order members. That whereas, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on Wednesday, 25th October 2023, the Meru County Assembly approved a motion to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. And further, whereas by a letter reference M/Cares Volume 4/43, dated 26th of October 2023, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 27 October 2023, the Speaker of Meru County Assembly, Senator Cherangei, informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b) of the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now, therefore, pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b), the Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising the following senators: Senator Dr. Boni Kalwale, CBS MP; Senator Jackson Mandago, EGH MP; Senator Karungo Tangwa MP; Senator Esther Okenyuri MP; Senator Ali Roba, EGH MP; Senator Peris Tobiko, CBS MP; Senator Enoch Wambua, CBS MP; Senator Abdul Haji MP; Senator Okoeti Omtata MP; Senator Crystal Asige MP; and Senator Shakila Abdallah MP, to investigate the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County, and pursuant to Standing Order 82, to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Governor to have been substantiated. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays
Have it.